All right, welcome to Basement Fort Radio. I'm here with special guests today, our dad, Gerard Lopez. I'm Jake.
I'm Jerry.
All right, what are we talking about today, Dad?
We're going to just touch on the Heisman. Mainly, we're going to keep it on college football. I want to talk about a Wake Forest college football issue that's out there, and talk about a little bit about a couple of bowl games that'll be coming up between now and next week. So.
All right, you want to kick us off?
Sure.
All right.
So the Heisman this year, I really thought it was anticlimactic. Lamar Jackson, the QB from Louisville, won. He had the better season than everybody else, but it really wasn't Heisman-like. He had the better season. You get my point. He had a great season at the beginning of the year, but when the team needed him to carry him, he really didn't do that. And Deshaun Watson, I know the Heisman is a one-year thing, but Deshaun Watson's been doing it for, I think this is his third year. It's kind of, to me, it's unfair that he hasn't received the Heisman. He was, I think, second in voting last year, and again second this year. But he clearly has been the best quarterback for the past two seasons.
I'm with you on that. Like this year, I think if you would have taken his what he was doing in the first 4 or 5 games and continued that on through the rest of the season, then I think it would have been a deserving. But for me, this Heisman race was kind of You know, there was no chase.
Exactly. Nobody got excited about it.
There was no chase, and that's why people get somewhat involved in the Heisman is because they're like, oh, well, what's this kid gonna do? I gotta watch that game because so and so's playing and he's in the Heisman race. There was none of that this year. It was
exactly. Last year you had 3 truly qualified candidates with Derrick Henry winning it. That Deshaun Watson could have won it. Christian McCaffrey could have won it from Stanford, and this year it was just really anticlimactic after probably the first month and a half of the season, the way Lamar Jackson started. But then from there it went downhill. But nobody seemed to grab the horns and run with it.
No.
And make anything happen.
Well, I thought Christian McCaffrey, as of last year's stuff, would make a go for it. Now I understand why, he wasn't up for it. He didn't put up the numbers, but on the other side of it, he's got bigger and better things going. He's only a sophomore. You don't want to run your horse.
Well, and he got
out of it.
Let's be truthful. These kids get all the recognition, but it's the big guys up front that are doing all the work for them to get the yards.
Yeah.
The passing yards, the running, things like that. And it was true for Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey still had a very good season. He really wasn't much off of what he did last year, except that he missed a few games. So, that being said, he's jumping from college and going to the NFL. He's already declared, and I'm sure he'll make a nice paycheck on Sundays. But I do want to talking about Lamar Jackson and Louisville. I want to talk about this issue with Wake Forest.
Okay, what's the issue?
The issue is their radio announcer was leaking game plans to the opposing teams.
Leaking game plans?
The Wake Forest radio announcer. Okay, his name's Tommy Elrod, and he used to coach for the Demon Deacons.
Okay.
When they brought in a whole new coaching staff, the new coach didn't want to hire him, so
that was like his payback?
He went.
Oh my goodness.
He got on as a radio announcer, and he's been leaking the game plans to opposing teams. He leaked it to Louisville. Now Louisville is coming out and saying, well, he talked to one of our defensive assistant coaches, but the information that we received was shared within that week. It's basically the same stuff that we see on tape. So it really didn't make a difference. But Coach Bobby Paterno, who we all know has issues with being faithful, you know, with him in Arkansas and the volleyball player.
Yeah.
He said that he was unaware of any conversations or anything like that, which may or may not be true. I don't know, but it just seems kind of funny. So this Tommy Elrod, he was on the coaching staff for Jim Grobe for 11 seasons. And then when Dave Clawson was hired, Elrod went to the radio booth.
Okay.
Now, he played, Elrod actually played for Wake Forest from 1993 to 1997. And then served, like I said, for 11 seasons under Jim Grobe as an assistant. Jim Grobe is saying that I'm telling him to keep his head up and we love him. And I don't think he did this maliciously. That he thinks he did it because radio announcers talk to coaches and coaches talk to other coaches and they talk about coaching stuff. And he feels like maybe he gave him too much information. However, the information is that Louisville found sheets actually on the opposing team's bench.
So you think that he left it there?
Well, no, I'm pretty sure he got it to him somehow, email, text, whatever. But anyway.
So what's the school doing about it? What's the radio?
Well, they fired him.
Okay.
Okay, and then the Atlantic Coast Conference is actually doing an investigation as well to determine what kind of punishments, if any, should be thrown down. Honestly, I think the only thing you really can do is say, this Tommy Elrod will never be able to coach in our conference.
Yeah, I mean, why would he? I mean,
not that anybody would hire him.
Yeah.
Why would you hire him now, right?
His reputation's already in the ground. But yeah, my thinking is you're supposed to be for the team, especially in like a small community like that. You know, you're supposed to be kind of biased in your opinion, especially if it's the Wake Forest, radio, whatever. Just like we have, it's all Broncos all the time here, or all CU Buffs, and you praise the ground they walk on kind of thing.
And then when you go and do something like that, you're not going to be welcome.
Well, I guarantee he's not coaching again. I doubt he'll be in radio anytime soon.
Right.
So
yeah, Wake Forest cited emails, text messages, and phone records and concluded that Elrod had tried to give out confidential information. So it's just sad that a coach would do that just because he got out of football. Life is long, and sometimes you're dealt a bad hand and you get fired as a coach, but a lot of these coaches turn around and end up getting a job elsewhere. Lane Kiffin just got hired with Florida Atlantic, so.
Oh, that happened?
Yes, it did happen.
What would you do if you were the coach at Wake Forest and something like this happened? I mean, put your coaching hat on for a minute.
I would actually, there's not much you can do. The radio announcer is handled by the athletic department. So I'd let the athletic department handle it the way they deem fit. I would obviously say I don't want him anywhere near my program. And if I saw him there, I would,
I mean, would there be anything like as far as meetings with the players, like you see this guy, or just be cautious of what you say if you get interviewed. Make sure you. I mean, I know you've coached me the things that you need to say. Always promote your teammates. Never really give away your game plan, kind of.
Right. And I would, I would just harp on that again. I'm pretty sure Wake Forest did not make a bowl this year. But I would tell the players, and more importantly, I would tell the other coaches and staff members, make sure that we're not giving any of this information out. They don't need to know it. And honestly, probably one of the things I talked to the athletic director about is limiting the access that the television and radio crew, even if it is our home crew, would have to our practices. I would treat them like I would treat a visiting radio telecast.
Yeah. I think you got to at this point.
Yeah, at least until you can gain some trust into who you're working with. So,
next up, what do you want to talk about? Anything else before we get to the bowl games, or?
Well, I mentioned Lane Kiffin. He signed on with Florida Atlantic. But another coaching move that just happened just before we came on air was the Oregon Ducks.
First here.
Pretty close. Pretty close. And you may hear it here first. The Oregon Ducks, a good friend of ours, Jesse Ernst's favorite college team,
Jesse.
have just hired Jim Leavitt, the defensive coordinator from CU. Okay? And it's a typical Oregon Duck move. We'll throw money at it and see if it fixes everything. And that's what they did. They were making Jim Leavitt the highest paid assistant coach in the Pac-12. Jim Leavitt had been at CU for 2 years. He was making roughly just over $500,000, which isn't a lot in major college ball, but it is CU. And, there's some restrictions here in Colorado on how you pay coaches and assistant coaches.
Okay.
And but the 2 years here, the defense got better and better. They were, I think, number 2 in total defense, or number 1 in total defense, and number 2 in scoring defense. So I may have that switch back and forth. But nevertheless, he did a great job with a great group of kids that stuck through it, were persistent, patient, listened to their coaches, and they ended up with a really good year playing in the Pac-12 championships. So here's hoping Coach McIntyre for CU can go out and find a reputable and solid defensive coordinator. It's college football is like this, though. College football steals from the poor. It's totally opposite of Robin Hood. They steal from the poor to make the rich better. You saw it with Texas taking Herman from Houston. I believe it's Herman. And you saw it with here, LSU just hired, I believe his name's Steve Canada, the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh today. So, these teams go out and they steal they steal coaches, and that's what they do. Next year, it very well could be CSU. Somebody could be going after their coach Bobo. He's had 2 good seasons here at CSU, solid seasons, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from the Southeast Conference or down that way comes calling and ask him to come back.
I mean, the dollar bill is always strong, especially for a coach, because that's a time investment.
Yes.
So I get it, and but at the same time, it's rough.
It is, because
it's almost unfair.
It's unfair to the kids that these guys go out and recruit and they sell them on family and loyalty and this, that, and the other. But on the other hand, how can you fault Jim Leavitt when he's going to get basically double in pay? Yeah. He's making $500,000 now. He's easily going to make over $1 million at Oregon.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And like I said, at Oregon, they throw money at it to try to fix it. And is it good for college football? Some will say yes. If you listen to ESPN pundits or even Fox Sports, they all love these old powerhouses getting better. They were They were in love with Charlie Strong when he went to Texas, talking about how he was going to win there. And
I think he did a great job.
I thought they should have gave him another chance.
Hey, even Matthew McConaughey thought he did a great job. So,
well, there you go.
then
But
that guy.
and here's the issue I see with Oregon. They hired Willie Taggart
Okay.
from Southern Florida. Okay, Willie Taggart coached at Stanford, but his recruiting base was in Florida. Okay, his recruiting base, all his coaching career has been in Florida. It's going to be hard to recruit. Hear me, Jesse Ernst. It is going to be hard for him to recruit Florida kids to Oregon. Kids don't mind leaving town, but when you got the SEC in your backyard and you go in the Pac-12, it's going to be hard to recruit enough players. He'll get a few, but it'll be hard to recruit enough players to make a difference. And it'll depend on who he gets as his recruiting coordinator and his coaching staff to it'll pick players out of California and the West Coast to make that team strong again.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I'm with you. I think Oregon's a pretty reputable school, though. Okay. I mean, I think he'll get. He'll get a fair number, I think, but it depends on. I mean, it's just hard to say. I mean, there's so many good Florida players down there, and there's a lot of Florida schools too.
There is.
I guess.
Well, you got Charlie Strong just went to University of Southern Florida, and that's where he recruited. There is. He was strong in recruiting Florida. That's why he had a hard time in Texas. It took him a while to build his base. But just as he was getting his base built, the friggin' boosters didn't like it because they were losing. They get rid of him. Okay? So now, he's going back to the University of South Florida and back to his recruiting base of Florida. So now Taggart, who left there, is going to compete against Charlie Strong. Well, Charlie Strong has a bigger name than Taggart. So, again, I'm just saying, Oregon, if you're looking for a quick fix, I don't expect it. You better have patience, and you better be willing to give him a little more time than you gave Helfrich.
Now on like a little side note, Chip Kelly, you think he'll get fired? Now on like a little
not this year.
And did they? If he does, did they maybe pull the trigger too quick?
Well, to be honest with you, I think
did they?
Oregon or somebody attached to Oregon, like a booster or something, made contact with Chip Kelly and asked him, would you be interested in coming back? And I'm thinking Chip Kelly said no. I'm here for the long haul. The long haul in the NFL, though, for a coach that's not winning, isn't very long. So I suspect
I don't think he'll get fired.
Not this season, but next season, Chip Kelly will be looking for another job. That team is horrendous. Heck, they had the Jets by what? 14 points? And they end up losing to them in overtime.
I bet you he stays there, and they're gonna go get Cutler. But that's that's for another topic, another time.
Well, that would make me just extremely happy.
Anyway, all right.
So, let's move on to a little bit of some bowl games.
Bowl games. What were the bowl games you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about the Las Vegas. I picked a couple of games I think would actually be some really good games. And I might miss on a couple here and there, but
these are the ones that the two watch games, right? Like the ones that are going to be close. They're more entertaining to watch, not blow out.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The Las Vegas Bowl.
These are the ones that.
Okay, first of all, if you're watching this show, why aren't we going to the Las Vegas Bowl on December 17th?
Why aren't we?
I mean, I'm sure we could get tickets.
No, I could probably get on kayak right now and find cheap flights.
So anyway, Houston and San Diego State. Okay.
Okay, Houston, San Diego State.
Yeah. So Houston,
Get on kayak right
we
now.
all know about Houston. They started out the season
So anyway,
one of the top 10 teams in the country, and just kind of fell.
Okay, Houston, San Diego.
Every few weeks they'd lose a game and fall farther and farther down the polls. Then along comes Texas, and they hires their head coach away from him, Tom Herman. Okay, I apologize. I think I got his name wrong. I said Todd earlier. Anyway, he's left. Okay.
Okay.
They hired an assistant, Major Applewhite, and he's the new head coach for Houston. But I just don't think Houston has the. I think they lack in motivation to win this game. I think they feel like
After such a good start this year, I mean,
they had a great start. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Louisville when Louisville was ranked up there in the top 6, 7 teams.
San Diego State kind of underrated this year, huh?
San Diego State is one of those Mountain West Conference teams that nobody pays attention to. And let's be truthful. I mean, we're out here in Colorado, so we know that nobody ever looks at the Mountain West Conference. It's not a Power 5 conference, which really,
They got a good fan base,
which
too.
really I don't understand why not. Why the Mountain West Conference is not a Power 5, and the Big 12, which is only 10 teams, is a Power 5 conference. Because really, all it has is Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Or last year, Oklahoma and Baylor.
Yeah, they're basically riding the coattails of the
Yeah.
whole Oklahoma.
Oklahoma and Texas, and this is a show for another day, but Oklahoma and Texas are ruining that conference. They are tearing it apart. Texas started it with their Texas Longhorn TV station, and that's why Nebraska bolted. That's why Colorado bolted. That's why Missouri bolted. You know, and nobody is stepping in and saying this ain't gonna work for us anymore, Texas. So, and Oklahoma actually backs it from everything I read. So.
Well, those teams can only be good for so long until, well, I mean, you're already starting to see Texas kind of fall.
Mm-hmm.
And they were coming up, but then, you know.
Well, yeah, now they got to start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody assumes that because Tom Herman went to Houston and he made them good right away, it's going to happen in Texas. It may not happen. I don't know. He's a good coach. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So on this game, though, I mean, give me a score prediction.
This game, San Diego State and Houston, I suspect that it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think
45-42?
I'm
45-40?
I think it's going to be like a 43-35, something like that.
You don't have a team over the other? You just think it's going to be
You know what? I'm
pretty tight?
taking the underdog. I'm taking San Diego State.
Yeah. Even though they have more wins with 10,
But they play in that so-called weaker conference.
yeah.
So, and the big reason I'm taking San Diego State is I think they have more motivation
To win this game.
to win the game. Houston, they feel like, okay, they came into the season shooting for one of the top 4 playoff teams. They had that goal, and they didn't reach that goal, and they didn't even make it to their conference championship game. So San Diego State, I think it has a chip on their shoulder.
Okay.
And I know you mentioned, you know, that I coached before. As a coach, I'd rather have that chip on my shoulder going into a game because I have nothing to lose. And I tell my players that. You have nothing to lose. You go out and play the best game you can because nobody expects you to win other than the people in this room.
Fun fact, San Diego State has been in a bowl game since 2010. Every year.
And there you go. They're a solid program. You know, they got one of the best running backs out there, Donnell Pumphrey. There's a chance, it's a slim chance, but there's a chance he could break Christian McCaffrey's record that he set last year, breaking Barry Sanders' record for, 20 years or something like that?
Yeah.
So they got a solid running back, They got a solid team, and they got a reason to win, to prove everybody else that they belong. And that's all you need.
I think you got a good one here, Dad. I think you picked a good one. Houston, as well, has been in a bowl game since 2003, with the exception of 2004 and 2010. So they've also been bowl worthy the last decade and a half. So yeah, I think that's a good one to definitely watch out for. And looking over the tickets are super cheap right now.
Are they?
For not plane tickets, but for the game itself.
For the game?
The other thing is San Diego is a 5-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive. So I think fan travel will be in their favor.
That's true.
Give them the edge.
If you can get San Diego people to drive that far.
I know. What's the next bowl game?
It's hard for them to leave that coast.
I know, right? They're just so sheltered.
Yeah. The next game I want to talk about is be played on December 21st, the Poinsettia Bowl in San Diego. And it features BYU and Wyoming.
Wyoming, they got a bowl game, huh?
Yeah.
Look at them.
So Wyoming made the Mountain West Conference championship game this year and lost to San Diego State.
Okay.
And that's how they ended up in this bowl game. So a lot of the people that follow this podcast, I think, know about North Dakota State and the Bison and how they've won 5 or 6 championships in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Wentz alma mater. Okay? Well, a couple of years ago, after they'd won a couple of these championships, Wyoming went and hired that head coach. And that's their new head coach. And he's been there for a couple of years, and Wyoming is on the way up. Now, that being said, I don't expect them to win, but I do expect it to be a lot closer than everybody else does. BYU is predominantly a solid program. It's one of those independent schools that had actually talked to the Big 12 about joining earlier in the year, and it is one of those programs that the Big 12 should actually look at bringing into it. Or if the Pac-12 was going to expand to 14, then they would look at BYU and maybe Boise State, something like that. But it's that kind of program. That's the point I'm trying to make, is BYU is a solid football program. And with that, they got some players, that can make a big difference. Tanner Mangum, he's not like a Jamal Williams, but he gained 1,100 yards in 9 games this year. He had 286 against Toledo. So,
BYU's been pretty good in the past.
Yes, BYU's been good for a long time. Not great like they were when the Detmers were there. Ty Detmer and his brother. I can't remember his brother's name off the top of my head, but they've been solid. They're a winning program, and that's why I think it'll be tough for Wyoming to beat them. But Wyoming does, they play a good, solid football. Their defense attacks the ball, and they're another team that comes in with a chip on their shoulder, saying, what do we have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the other issue with this, you brought up the fact that San Diego State's been to a bowl game since 2010. I think if you look at Wyoming, they probably haven't been to a bowl game in a while.
They've been struggling, I think. I can pull it up here. But, as a kid, I remember Wyoming football was huge. Now, and then I don't think they ever just recovered recovered that legacy. Bowl game history. Let's see here. 2011 was their last bowl game, the New Mexico Bowl.
Yeah, so
they've had gaps.
It's been a while, and more than likely they'll probably make that trip up to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and all that stuff that they do during the bowl week.
Yeah.
And I just think it'll be a good game. I think it's one that if you're a college football fan, you should watch. But I think BYU's got too many horses, and I suspect they're going to win somewhere like 33-21, something like that.
Think it'll be kind of a blowout.
Kind of a blowout, but
okay.
It'll be close for probably 3/4 of the game, and then BYU. It'll be close for probably
just kind of take it.
Yeah. 3/4. Now, with that said, remember their head coach. Their head coach is a guy from North Dakota State and won a couple of championships back to back. So he knows how to win big games. Okay?
Okay.
It's just a matter of him getting that experience to his players so they learn how to win big games.
What if Wyoming comes and actually beats this team? Do you think it'd be a big upset?
It'll be an upset. The Football Power Index has BYU favored or projected to win by 77%, almost 78%. But the BYU favorite, it's one of these bowl games that has been around forever, the Poinsettia Bowl, but nobody pays attention to. So for us in the Rocky Mountain region, yes, it'd be a huge upset. For Wyoming, it would definitely help with their recruiting, because it would show these recruits that maybe have not committed yet that, hey, that's a pretty good program going in the right direction. Okay?
They have a pretty good. I think their down thing is they don't have places like, Miami and. Their culture has gone.
Oh, it's a totally different culture than even CU Boulder, which is just an hour down the road, or CSU.
So even getting students there is tough that aren't from there.
The big thing in Wyoming is that is all it is. There are Bronco fans up there, Denver Bronco fans, but if you play Wyoming sports, everybody in Wyoming pretty much knows who you are.
Yeah,
it's true. A huge deal.
It is a big deal up there. They're like royalty almost.
Yeah. And Laramie, it's a small place, but some people like small towns. So I hope they do well. Being that I lived there for a while, or we lived there for a while.
And that's the 21st, you said, right?
Yes. That game's on the 21st.
So we got bowl games this weekend coming up, 17th.
Yep.
And so we're pretty much kicking them, rolling and going right now.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch on too many of those games. Maybe at the end we can kind of just say, hey, this is what's going to be played the 17th, 19th.
Okay.
And then, but there's, I don't know how much time we got left.
We're good.
Okay.
We can keep rolling.
We got one other game, the Idaho Potato Bowl game.
The Potato Bowl.
And that has Colorado State playing Idaho.
Idaho.
Okay. This game, I'm not sure is going to be very close. I think, and I picked these games because, they're close to us here in the Rocky Mountain region. I think they are games that, a lot of people would be interested in, because they know people that went to the schools or whatever. So, but the Idaho Potato Bowl, it's played on December 22nd, and it's a 7 o'clock Eastern time, so at 5 o'clock here in the mountains, and it's going to be on ESPN, and it's going to be in Boise on the blue field, I'm pretty sure. So
Boise Blue Field.
Yep, Colorado State versus the Idaho Vandals.
So some of those bowl games travel. They're not like specific areas like, you know, Rose Bowl and Orange Bowl. The Poinsettia Bowl is always in San Diego.
Yeah, these bowls, well, all the bowls are pretty much the same place all the time.
Okay. Well, the Idaho one, I guess, makes sense.
Yeah. You know, you got the New Mexico Bowl, Las Vegas Bowl. They're pretty much in the same place all the time. It's just what's happened, and I'm glad you asked that question, is these bowls are tied into conferences.
Okay.
Okay? And whoever wins the conference, if they're not a playoff team, then they get to go to this bowl. So, for example, Washington won the Pac-12. But if they had not been one of the top 4 teams and made the playoffs, they would have went to the Rose Bowl because that's a conference agreement.
Yep.
Okay? Because they did make the playoff team, then the Rose Bowl takes the next team. And Colorado and USC tied for second in the Pac-12.
So USC got to go.
USC got to go because, well, USC's right there. They bring more fans. It becomes a money thing again.
All about the money in these bowl games.
We started at the beginning of the show talking about Jim Levitt and Oregon throwing money.
It's all about the money.
And it's the same with the bowl games. So that's how CU ends up getting the third bowl from the Pac-12. That's the Alamo Bowl. Well, for the Mountain West Conference, their champion gets to go to the Poinsettia Bowl in San Diego. Their second place team gets to go to the Poinsettia Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
And then CSU, I think, is third or fourth place.
Okay.
They get to go to the Idaho Potato Bowl. So there's deals with these bowl committees, and that's how you know where you're going to go. Is it fair? I don't know. You know, at least the kids get to go to the bowl.
None of them like really rotate. I know that like you said, Pac-12 is always going to be.
I don't know.
You know,
at least
somebody from the Pac-12 is represented in the Rose Bowl. You know, and somebody from ACC or SEC is in the
Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl, is it Sugar Bowl?
Yes.
And then there's Cotton Bowl, and that's what, Big 12 or
That's
Pac-10
Big 12 and Big 10.
Big 10. Okay.
So, you know, there's all these deals. I don't know them all. I just know.
I think it was a good idea at one time when schools were not so spread out.
Well, the bowl committees are like, if you want to change it, all you got to do is win more games.
Not so spread out.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is true. I mean, if CSU, or not CSU, but if CU beats Washington, now they're going to the Rose Bowl.
True.
And they're playing Penn State, which would be a beautiful game to watch. USC and Penn State will be a beautiful game. But we can talk about that next week if you invite me back on. So
I'm sure we can figure something out.
But I want to talk about this CSU Idaho game.
All right, CSU Idaho game. Let's get back to it.
The Idaho team isn't very
lost
good.
track.
Yeah, we kind of lost track there for me.
All right,
But
let's get back to it.
the Rams, CSU Rams, coached by Mike Bobo, who was the assistant coordinator or offensive coordinator for Mark Richt at Georgia before he came here a couple of years ago. He's got these guys playing their best ball right now, and honestly, Idaho is really not that good of a team, which is another problem with these guys playing in bowl games. You can win 5 games and be in a bowl game, and the Vandals just. They don't have a lot going for them right now. They beat UNLV, which isn't a great team.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot going for them right now. They took a whooping to Washington and Washington State. So I suspect that CSU will have their way, and this one will be a blowout. I recommend everybody watch it. Again, it's on December 22nd, 5 o'clock on ESPN. But you're only going to probably have to watch probably the first half, maybe halfway through the third quarter, and I think CSU is going to run away with it.
Is Lou Fowl playing?
But you're only going to probably have to watch. He plays for Colorado, not
I know.
State.
Colorado State. I thought we were talking CU for a second.
No, Colorado State we're playing right now. The Rams, Fort Collins. So, yeah, I suspect that CSU will win big here. And I suspect that Bobo will be able to stay on another year with CSU. But if he has another good season, I think there'll be people calling for him to go back down south and coach one of their programs down there.
CSU's never really had a. I mean, they've had really good teams, but it tends to be like really good and then on the verge of being great, and then they fall.
And you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a big part of that is what we started the show with, talking about CU losing their defensive coordinator and what college football is. It's Robin Hood in reverse. The rich take from the poor.
Yep.
So whenever CU losing their defensive coordinator, and
I mean, it's a prime example of Nike in Oregon.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you have that different jersey a game. It's been like that for the last 10 years. You know,
and kids love that.
Kids want to go and play because they get all that free gear.
Get the chrome helmet. And you know,
it's been like that for the last. But they got the money to back it. As to an Appalachian State,
they love the swag. You know, but you go to Ohio State, there isn't a whole lot of swag. The uniform at Ohio State, the uniform at Michigan, it's a different culture in different parts of the country. But the thing is, it's still the same. There isn't a whole lot of swag. These schools are so big, and their boosters are well, they're well off. You know, you got what's his name? Paul Knight, I think it is, out in Oregon, that throws money at the program. And as long as there's somebody throwing money at the program and nobody there to regulate it, they're taking that money and they're building a good program. And that's why CSU, they'll be good, and then somebody will come and take their coach. Sonny Lubick. He came from Miami, and he started winning at CSU, and Miami wanted him back as a head coach. To Sonny Lubick's credit, he said, "I love it here, and I love the kids we're recruiting. I love what we're doing. I'm staying."
Do you think schools step their bounds sometimes in the recruiting process?
Recruiting or hiring for coaches?
Well, I hiring for coaches, I guess it would be a better.
Yeah, I don't know if you could say they overstep their bounds. I mean, they offer money. Recruiting or hiring for coaches?
Well,
you know, and how do you turn 100% raise, 100+% raise down, you know, to do the same job just in a different location. 100% raise, you know.
Well, I think in part too that was why Notre Dame was so good all them years too. Was because people were like dedicated. You wanted to be the Irish. You were so invested in the Irish, and not only were people invested in it, but fans were from all over the country. But now the money's got involved. You're so invested in the Irish. There is none of that.
Exactly, and that's why Texas is, you know, for the longest time, there was one Texas college that everybody wanted to play for. And that was the University of Texas. Hook 'em horns. And then if you couldn't get recruited by them, then you went to Texas A&M. That was it.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about Houston. Nobody knew about Baylor. Nobody knew about TCU. They were college football teams, but those were the teams that you put on your schedule when you needed a break before you played a Ohio State or a Nebraska or one of those teams. Oklahoma. And now those teams are good. And Texas isn't getting their pick of players.
No.
And not only are those teams good, but you have teams like Colorado going into Texas. You have teams like Oklahoma going into Texas. You have Missouri going into Texas. You have Louisiana going into Texas. They all go into Texas. They all go into Florida. And they all go into California.
I'm with you.
I'm
with you. I think sometimes money is okay on the NCAA side. But I'm not saying that players should get money neither. I mean, they you make it to a bowl game, they get all kinds of cool stuff and all that. But there needs to be some guidelines, I think, that maybe need to be set up to make it a little bit more not so. I mean, you got Nick Saban down in Alabama just making an NFL camp down there.
Right.
I mean, it's basically. I would say they're better than the San Francisco 49ers at this point, or the Cleveland Browns, definitely. I mean, it's hard to say that because it's not the same level. But
the NFL guys are grown men. The college guys are kids still.
It's a different game.
And it is a different game.
I mean, it's hard to say that because it's not the same.
But I'll tell you what, the NFL guys back in the day, they used to have college all-stars play the Super Bowl team. It was the first preseason game of the NFL season. What I would really like to watch is an Alabama play like a Cleveland Browns or a San Francisco 49ers team. And answer the question, could they beat them? Because, I mean, a lot of us sit there. If you talk to the pro athletes, okay, I listen to 104.3 The Fan regularly, and Big Alfred Williams, played defensive end for the Broncos, Cincinnati Bengals, 49ers. He'll tell you time and time again, the guys in the NFL are grown men, and they would whoop on them. Even the Cleveland Browns would whoop on Alabama. He'll tell you time and time again. But I'd like to ask the question. I'd like to see proof of it.
Yeah.
I'd like to watch the game and see what.
Nick Saban runs a pretty elite program down there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason that they've won the last, at least been in the national championship again the last 10 years.
Yeah, there's a reason every year it starts with Alabama.
Yeah.
So.
And they are pretty dominant this year.
Next week,
let's bring some topics for next week. Let's bring this thing in for a close. I think we can do that.
Next week, I'd like to talk about the Belk Bowl, Virginia Tech and Arkansas.
Okay.
Another Jesse Ernst team. And, of course, we've got to talk about the Alamo Bowl, which I think is actually going to be one of the best games out there this bowl season. That's going to be Colorado and Oklahoma State. And then the Arizona Bowl, we'll touch on that just briefly because it's Air Force against South Alabama. And then we'll talk about the playoff games and see how we go there. And then, of course, the All-State Sugar Bowl. And then, of course, probably touch a little bit on the Broncos. To see if they still got a chance, or if this weekend they falter against the Patriots, and what people think if they're out of it or not.
Yeah, there'll be it's definitely a must-win scenario for the boys.
I think it'd be great though if you guys could text or on
tweet
Facebook,
tweet us,
or
Facebook.
tweet or Facebook. Basement Floor Radio.
Tweet us with any questions you got for next week's show.
Yeah, any comments or any if you want us to talk about a topic, let us know and we'll try to address it.
Yeah, we'll get the information and put together and got a pretty positive feedback from doing the live streams on Facebook. So I think that's definite gonna happen again. So, I mean, any last words before we close it out?
No, everybody be safe this weekend. It's supposed to be cold Saturday, so warm up.
Well, here in Colorado, that is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming across the country, so
All right, we'll
warm
beware.
up. All
Snow's
right.
coming.
If you can, 3 o'clock at the, I think it's Tour Arena, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, shout out to the Pie Hog Vikings.
Vikings doing their auction to help youth hockey grow. So, jersey auction.
Yeah, they got the special jerseys that they're wearing.
So if you can
on Saturday at 3 p.m. at
help youth hockey grow. So
Comcast Xfinity Sports Arena. And it's not only going to be the Vikings but the Thunder, so there's going to be games going from 3 o'clock into 9 o'clock, and there's going to be upwards to 30 or 40 players' jerseys up for auction, silent auction, and then a few other side things, I believe. So, great cause, help youth hockey out.
So
Get a chance.
If you could be there, we'd appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for
fun.
coming on.
Yeah.
It was fun. I'm Jake.
I'm Jerry.
All right, this has been Basement Floor Radio. We'll catch y'all later. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Cool.
Are we off?
We're off.
How was it?
I think it was good. I think we did good. I was just trying to. We got. Average watch time was 44 seconds, but we got 27 views total. We did pretty good. And then I'll just throw that on the YouTube channel.
How'd I do, Rock? I think Grandma's right. I don't think you can hear.
Cool. Alright, now I gotta. What do we want to do for dinner?
I don't know. What do you want to do? What are you thinking?
Don't want something easy to do. That's what I want.
You want something easy?
I want something easy. It requires not very much effort. I didn't check to see if there was packages that came.
Oh, I didn't either. Do you got stuff coming?
I do.
Okay. I'll stick my head out there.
Thanks, man.
No, thank you. That was fun. I'm thinking.
There's an audio feedback. Sounds like you have speaker on in the background.
Great commentary.
I bet you I know what happened.